a cashier. Customer clientele. I was broke, that was last year. Getting money like a cashier. Get the money like a cashier. Benjamin, nothing less. I was broke, that was last year. Don't change, I never switched up. Sitting down to day one. Straight soldier. People change,
Hey.
Hey.
Welcome to DBT Live, y'all. We're getting the band back together tonight. We are getting the band back together. I'm Stefania.
And I'm Hashim, also known as Hashade.
Hey, Hashade. I haven't seen you all month.
And I got to take this time and acknowledge Happy International Women's History Month, or Happy Women's History Month. So you've been holding it down.
Hey, that's what us women do sometimes, right? Not sometimes.
Quite often.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Quite often.
And sometimes alone.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So what you been up to?
I have been working hard. Politics time. I am an integral part of Wanda James for CU Regent for her race. I've been doing that and then just doing my whole Black thing, just trying to help bring consciousness and awareness to our people, our struggles, our issues, and those who don't like us.
Right. And but need to have that spoonful, whether they like it or not. Right. I mean,
Valid.
Different does not mean bad.
Right.
Hey,
Definitely.
Omar. What's happening?
Hey, family. How y'all doing today?
Doing good.
We're here.
Good to see my good brother, Hashim. Thank you for all the work you're doing in the community. And Stefania, you're the best. You've been killing it this month.
Thank you.
I think the topics and just
we've had
everything.
Some great guests. We've had some great guests on. I mean, some interesting women that we were able to pull on and interview, and they were willing to share. So it's been an awesome month.
Agree. So it's been an interesting week.
Right? So much to jump into. Where do we start? I mean, the news cycle is blowing up over one particular subject. Are we should we dive in like everyone else? Do we all have an opinion?
I mean,
yeah.
Clarence Thomas's wife is part of the January 6th coup attempt. And he was actually giving it legal advice.
Ooh.
But I don't know. I don't know if that's what's on everybody's radar or palette. But that's just me.
Well,
let's talk about it. The only dissenting vote.
Yeah. I don't know. We only got an hour.
Right.
We could dive into Clarence Thomas. We could talk about the war in Kosovo. We could talk about how the war in Kosovo and
there's a war going on.
Awareness, presence.
Over in Ethiopia.
Ethiopia.
Tigray, right?
Different parts. You have that going. I mean, not Kosovo. I am all over the place. I mean, Ukraine. This has been one of them crazy weeks.
We have a former president who's asking for a war criminal to give information about politicians in this country. Not that we could throw that out there. I mean, you're right. There's so much to talk about.
I mean, we could just talk about even locally. There's been a lot done locally in regards to our unhoused community, a lot going on with Aurora PD, a lot going on with our youth. Like, I'm wondering how our youth are dealing with everything that's taking place today. I was listening to a podcast today, and I know we're going to dive into this issue soon, about, I guess there was a mural made of Will Smith that's not that far from elementary school, and how they have to process what took place at the Academy Awards with these elementary school kids that look at this mural every single day of Will Smith. And how do you process that with elementary school kids? I mean, we're talking about adults. I'm watching adults go crazy on social media, not crazy in the literal sense, but just everybody having their opinion. And you see these images being played over and over, or even people are making anime features about it, all this other stuff. And the question is, how is this impacting our kids as well as we talk about adults?
Well, let's take it from the top. Let's just talk about the event.
Right.
I mean, so everyone knows we were talking about the slap that Will Smith delivered to Chris Rock during the Academy Awards, national TV, over the disrespect that he felt about his wife being the brunt of a joke by Chris Rock. And I don't know, I'm kind of torn. I never we never condone violence. I mean, that was assault. It is absolutely wrong. It is up to me. It is up to Chris Rock to press charges, which he has declined. He has declined. So then that leaves us with just opinion. And my opinion is, I look at it from a medical standpoint for Jada, and I was torn. I was heartbroken for her. I was really heartbroken. I think there's two victims here, and I think Chris Rock was a victim, and I also think Jada was a victim. And I think comedy sometimes has to realize what line to cross and what line not to cross. And that's a personal issue. And I think when you cross that line, you put yourself out there to receive the heckling sometimes that you get. Running up on stage and assaulting somebody, probably not, but I think Chris Rock should have been more aware of the situation. What blows my mind is there were 3 women who hosted that show. 3 very funny comedic, 2 very funny comedic women, and 1 actress who's has impeccable comedic timing. So she's done comedy just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Not one of them decided to broach that subject and use her as a punchline. Why did the man decide to use that as a punchline? Why did he do it? Did he not have the awareness to say, that's not something you should joke about?
You bring up an excellent point. I'm gonna say this. I understand protecting Black women, protecting family. I don't see any excuse of going on national TV to open hand slap, harm another Black person. I don't. It was, you know how many after parties there were going to be where they could have met up and had that discussion, or there's like about 5 different rooms in that back room. They could have went out there and had the conversation, and but to walk up on stage and to harm another person.
Yeah,
I just can't. And once again, the medical protecting Black women has been an issue. I just think protecting Black women could have been done another way. And last but not least, you talked about the people that were harmed.
Mm-hmm.
Millions of people have been harmed after watching that loop over and over and over and over again.
How so? Explain that to me.
Because you have different folks that have different traumas. We have people that's been in abusive relationships. Just the physical hit can traumatize them. People who felt like no one has stood up for them may be traumatized. People who are harmed on another brother or another sister. I don't dive into that concept of Black on Black crime and all that other stuff, because everybody commit crime.
Right.
I'm sure somebody of a different ethnicity or race probably just slapped someone of their same ethnicity and race today. But with that stated, to go on national TV and do that, you harmed the people in that audience.
Well, see, and I'm not gonna. I know, Hashim, you want to jump in? I mean, I discredit that one, but Omar, let's talk about it. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sure. So I thought the joke was corny, right? I thought it was a corny joke. I did not take it as a joke, and I wasn't the target of the joke. But understanding Chris Rock's comedy style, I didn't take it as he was making fun of her alopecia. I took it as it was a short haircut. He was making fun maybe of that. But I didn't take G.I. Jane as an insult. And let me tell you why I didn't take G.I. Jane as an insult. And I understand how people could flip it as an insult, but G.I. Jane was a movie about a woman that was breaking the glass ceiling into the Navy SEALs program, the elite of the elite special forces group in the United States military. Initially, she was used as a pun or as a political prop in the movie for that to occur. Throughout that, she exposed the woman senator that used her for her own gain, and she was exposed the system too. G.I. Jane is a movie that talks about the epitome and toughness of a woman. That's how I take it. For the physical endurance they had to go through there to become a Navy SEAL, the percentage of people that actually become a Navy SEAL, and whether the movie was fictional or based on a true story or whatnot, it portrayed a woman being just as good at a minimum, if not better than men, because she ended up saving one of her company members' lives, one of her SEAL team members' lives in the movie. So that's why I didn't take it as an insult. But I thought the joke was kind of corny. But I also thought, I'm like, oh, wait, they're coming out with a G.I. Jane too? Or they came out with one and I missed it? So this is my mindset. So then watching it, and I don't really watch the Oscars. I don't. I'm good. Since when Jada didn't get invited to the Oscars and she was protesting it, I haven't really watched it since then. But it was on because I was hoping that Will Smith would get the award for King Richard. So he told the joke. I rolled my eyes like, oh, that's a corny joke. I saw Jada roll her eyes, saw Will laugh. Will got up, walked to the stage, and slapped the man. So that was assault and battery. And then it was menacing when he went back to his seat, right? So these are three instances that happen in the law, or infractions that happen in the law. And from that point, I'm like, yo, that was completely out of line, right? So that's where I'm at. And I understand alopecia is an issue. And I hate to always expose that I go through certain things or whatever as a badge to give me justification to talk about things. But I think that we just really need to look at things from an introspective and an intelligent lens, but not from a hypersensitive point of view. And from her exposure of alopecia, doesn't take away from alopecia. It was one spot, right? And she makes her decisions off of that, which is anyone's choice to do. Like I got my head wrap on because my hair ain't colored and my locks aren't tightened, right? So that's my own thing. I dig it. But then the hypocrisy, right? Because the internet never forgets. The hypocrisy, Will Smith slapped somebody himself. No, he didn't slap somebody. Sorry. He told a bald-headed joke himself on the Arsenio Hall show. The crowd booed. He said, oh, come on now. It's just a joke. Don't be
about
so
a woman?
About a man. Do men not experience alopecia? Are men not exposed to feelings? So that's where I'm at on the situation. I don't think it was appropriate. I don't believe in violence. I believe in violence is initiated by people, but I don't believe a response is ever violent. If you slap me and I respond in a physical manner, I'm just responding to an attack.
Agree.
Or protecting yourself.
Yeah.
My thing, I have two responses to you, Omar. I the thing about the being triggering for some people, I get that, because you don't turn on the Academy Awards expecting per se to see somebody physically assaulted. However, we have physical violence on TV all the time, in soap operas. We have it in cartoons. We have it. It's everywhere. And even I'm sure during the Academy, there were probably awards for, the best fight scene and things like that. So I'm not sure if I would go so far, me personally, in saying that it was triggering, but I could definitely see that. I can see where that could possibly be a problem for some people. I wouldn't think that would be at the top of my concern list. I do think, however, going to Hashim, like I said, I think Jada was a victim, and maybe it's because I view it from a female perspective, which is, going to be a little difficult for any man, because we think differently.
Mhm.
And so
Agree.
I think, even though you're saying it was one band across Jada's head, it started before that was complete alopecia. So her hair had been falling out, and it had been in patches, and it had been growing in sparsely for a
Okay.
long time before she had that complete band that was not growing back at all. So that's when she decided to not just go low cut, she shaved it. And for some reason, I just get something different when I see, like, she even had a video where she said, I don't care. Right before the Oscars, she said, I don't care what people think about this bald head. And I took that as her trying to build up her own courage to do what she was about to do. And that was, with a bald head, put on a pretty dress and earrings, and go and stand in front of the world, and still try and present yourself as a woman. When our society has placed so much emphasis on beauty and what a woman looks like with hair or without hair. Congresswoman Presley even commented that it's a traumatic thing to go through for women, to start losing their hair. And it takes a lot of courage to stand in front of the world in a dress, and still say, I'm feminine.
Mhm.
And so I think her sitting there in the Oscars, hoping that, people would still see her as beautiful. And we all, I think she's gorgeous, and we probably all get it. And then to receive that joke, I think that's where the hard eye roll came in. She's like, it wasn't my choice to lose my hair.
Okay.
It would be different if she was G.I. Jane and she shaved her hair on her own, her head on her own, or if she shaved her head. I know there are several women who have done that, but I'm sure she could still have her hair. She would still have her hair. But it wasn't a choice. And so I think it hit a little harder. Go ahead.
So, Stefania, I just want to say thank you for bringing that perspective. I mean, I do agree. There's a lens I can never look through in regards to this situation or other situations that I see sisters go through. I can't. I'm going to put on a different lens, though, to just see another brother hurt another brother.
Yeah.
And I'm I ain't going to say I disagree, but I'm just going to say, although there's violence on television, doesn't mean that everyone looks at violence on television.
Right.
That everyone engages violence on television.
Right.
There are some people who are, regardless of how much violence is out there, are still triggered. There are people who are still caught in abusive relationships. Yeah. Kids who are caught in abusive relationships, who are trying to figure out, how do I deal with this? How do I address this? And when we see the increase in violence in our society, where people are so short-tempered, are we giving permission? If we give Will Smith a pass, are we giving people permission to say, under any circumstance, it's okay to harm someone because you feel justified or that you're protecting someone? If there's self-defense, yeah, you got to do what you got to do. There was so many opportunities. Even if he just yelled from his seat, he boom, 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 boom out. But if he had just did that, I'm sure they got each other's number, cell phone number, address, this, that, and the other. I want to see our community see reconciliation over acts of violence.
I agree with you. I think our community needs to see them reconcile, and quicker, sooner rather than later.
So we're forcing Chris Rock to accept it?
No.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and
no.
What?
No.
Everyone, I shouldn't say everyone. There's been large talk about alopecia and calling it a medical problem. It is. But isn't alopecia just hair loss, period, that is caused by an autoimmune disease?
Your body attacking your body. That is a medical condition.
So all right. But I mean, listen.
It's autoimmune. It's a medical condition.
No one's arguing that. I'm just identifying it. Male pattern baldness is also a medical condition, right? Okay. Chris Rock is going through some medical conditions as well too, with how he perceives and adjusts to things in society. But it seems that we give more credit to one medical condition of hers than we do to his, which could be why he deviated from the script. If he deviated from a script, which could be why he's not able to read the language of the room. But then also, for the violence piece, we have to talk about the violence piece and understand that violence is all around us on TV and everything, and people are going there in the best fight scenes and all that type of stuff. But that's with the understanding that it's fictional. When you're watching this and you're watching a live performance, if we're supposed to be not triggered by a slap because violence is all around us, then I guess if a mass shooting broke out, we should.
Well, I didn't say they weren't triggered.
No, I'm not saying you did.
I said it wasn't at the top of my list.
Okay.
As something
that I didn't throw a rock into it, hit anything. I'm just simply saying in general. Listen, I'm not trying to speak to any convicted targets. I'm just talking about that because I've heard also other people say this as well too. So some of the comments I bring in is stuff that I've actually heard from the outside as well. So we have to look at, was that warranted for the grievance, right? And I like Chris Rock, and I'm disappointed in the comedy because he's socially conscious with his comedy. And in 2022, why pick on the black woman for the joke? There were other type of things jokes that he could have made or whatever. Maybe he truly thought it was lighthearted. Intent versus impact is an issue that we'd have to talk about that. But even if the joke was malicious, does that warrant a physical response? Because one is protected by the Constitution, the other is not, right? There are laws that describe the other. And the other could have triggered a response that could have made Jada a widow, then who would be wrong? Right? So and if people are saying that that's the standard of love, I got a question, like, why does violence have to be your standard that your person loves you? You know, and then the other part, they asked Will Smith to leave, and he was like, nah.
I disagree with that. I don't think they did.
Well, what you going by? I don't think Jada Pinkett has a medical condition, right? We haven't seen a medical record. We have to take her word.
I think there's video that shows they never asked him to leave. I think they're just coming out with that because the Academy is trying to save face because I mean, there's video. He's having conversations with tons of people, and nobody that looks like security came up and said, "Can you leave the proceedings? We no longer want you here." Now,
did we see the camera the entire time?
We did not see the
camera the entire
time.
No.
But I mean, there are receipts. So if that really did happen, why didn't the Academy show the receipts?
Why do they have to show the receipts though?
Because they're saying that they asked the man to leave. There's two versions. Actually, there are a lot of people saying they never asked him to leave, and there are people saying that they did ask him to leave. Show the receipts.
Can I ask this question? We focus a lot on Will Smith and Jada. I want to go to Chris Rock.
Yeah.
Chris Rock was. Let's understand the chain of events. Will Smith walks up there, slaps him. He stood there, completed his whole script. Even acknowledged Will Smith when Will Smith was yelling at him. He acknowledged him. He didn't ignore him. He said, "I hear you." That's important to me. Mm-hmm. I hear you. He no longer said anything about Jada Pinkett Smith. He was a little rambled for a second and then went right back on task to honor the people he was there to recognize who worked hard for their award. Let's think about how much composure you must have to get hit on national TV and then not respond, almost like in a Gandhi-like manner. And I'm far from putting Chris Rock in there with Gandhi, Martin Luther King.
That's right, because Chris Rock never said he hated black people like Gandhi.
Yeah, you got Gandhi. We got some things we got to talk about that from that dynamic. But at the same time, he kept his composure, kept the show going, even made a little light joke about it, and never. And what I have seen has not said, when I see Will Smith on the street, me and my boys gonna go handle that business.
Right.
He hasn't said that and didn't press charges.
Mm-hmm.
Why aren't we talking about that as much as we talking about the mental health, social relationship of Jada Pinkett and Will Smith?
Yeah, well, that's a whole nother subject, but I agree with you. I think Chris Rock's composure was amazing. I mean, just the fact that he really didn't react. He didn't even, his arms didn't even come out like he wanted to protect himself. I mean, when you watch him, he was truly composed, and to keep that composure throughout, like you said, Omar, amazing. He did an amazing job. Other than I really, like I said, I didn't care for the joke at all. I would have been mortified if it were me. I would have been mortified. I'd have been angry and mortified to my core if it were me sitting there. And I don't care if I'm a public figure or not, but I agree with you. I think he did an amazing job keeping his composure and not lashing out. And like you said, he did recognize and say, I hear you. And he said, and when Will repeated it the second time, he said, I'm going to. He said, keep my wife's name out your mouth. And he said, I'm going to. He did a great job.
And so, but I want to talk about also the message that sends. Is he also sending a message saying, hey, as a black man, as a black person, I don't have to respond the way you think I should respond. What did Shannon Sharp say the other day? If it was me, we would have been fighting. We would have been doing this.
Right. He'd have beat me or I'd have beat him.
I like Shannon Sharp. I like the work he does. But at the same time, the message that Chris Rock sent was saying there's a different way to handle a situation.
Yeah.
And we don't have to go there, but we'll handle this in a way that I feel I don't have to step out and do the stereotypical thing of going on social media, saying I'm gonna get my people, you get my people, and millionaires having drive-bys in Beverly Hills.
Do you think there's a small bit of him then that recognized that maybe he in his mind he was like, I shouldn't go here, but I went there, and now he's like, I shouldn't have gone there. You know, in his mind he recognized that it was probably a subject that he shouldn't have broached.
But it's the why, right? Should he have not gone there because of how it made Jada feel? Or should he have not gone there because of, I didn't want to be slapped on national television?
Well,
and understanding how comedy goes, I'm thinking it's the slapped on national television part.
Well, that came after. That's putting the cart before the horse. He
No,
thought about it before.
I'm saying
he couldn't have anticipated the slap.
So he can't have. Okay, Stefan, you lost me on this. He could not have had the retrospective look of thinking I shouldn't have gone there before any of it happened. So we were talking about like his regret for the statement. Like, was the regret for the statement of Jada's feelings, or the regret for the statement or the joke of being slapped on national television? We don't know.
So my statement is, do you think that in his mind before he said the joke, he was like, I probably shouldn't do this, but he did it. And then retrospect thought the reason why he responded with, I'm going to, is he knew that, you know, he had that thought before, and then he ultimately said, yeah, I shouldn't have done it.
No.
You don't think he had that?
Nope. Okay. I mean, just because how comedy is and how Chris Rock hits, like, no, I don't think he regretted saying it. I think he was sorry he said it when he saw how it affected or the repercussions of it. But I don't think that he was like that. I just don't.
And there is an emotion there. When you see someone you love, truly love, get hurt, there's that pain that sits there as well. I was listening to another podcast and they were talking about how Will Smith felt bad that he couldn't protect his mother, who was in an abusive relationship when he was about 9 years old. You know, I think we have to begin to look at the totality of what domestic violence does to a person, regardless how old you are.
Yeah.
We have to begin to look at the totality of the impact of violence on people, communities, and people that's in this every single day. We have to begin to look at those things. And that is, I think someone just posted, I heard it on the podcast, and they did say that came out of his book. And the question is is he getting the help he need to heal from that?
part.
Yeah, hurt people hurt people.
That
Is
part.
Chris Rock gonna get the help he needs to deal with what took place with him the other day?
I think that whole, I'm sorry, but I think Will and Jada and the entire family need to sit down with a therapist. The red table is not a therapist, and they need to stop with that. You know, I get it. They're talking and they're trying to be real, but I think I saw someone else say this, and I wish I could give them credit, but I don't remember who it was. But he said, stop giving people the knife to cut you with. Jada put all that stuff out there. She put out there that, you know, they had an entanglement, and that, you know, she's living as a public figure. She's living out loud even more than she needs to, in my opinion. You wonder why Chris Rock had the ammunition to hurt her. Is stop putting all that stuff out there, and then you wonder why your family is reacting the way they are. Perhaps they're tired of having the insults that have been hurled at them for the last few years that have led up to all this pain that we saw explode physically on the stage, that visceral gut reaction that Will Smith experienced. Because to me, that's what it was. I don't think he planned that. I think he could take it back if he would, but it was a visceral gut reaction that we experienced, that we saw, that we witnessed.
So you said that, you made me think more about Chris Rock's compassion, civility, thoughtfulness, because I'm gonna tell you right now, if it was me, I don't know if I would have responded violently, because I'm aware I'm at the Oscars, the cameras are on, that is money. I would have flipped into my gift of comedy. And I'm like, wow, man, the way you slapped me, I don't think that was as hard as the way August slapped your wife on the ass, right? Or you slapping the wrong person. Or you mad in March, wait till August come. I guess we got to all shelter back in place.
Oh, wow.
Like,
I'm glad. I'm really
saying.
glad you wasn't there.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, listen, when you put your hands on somebody.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right? You open up the door. People say, well, you open up your door and what you say. Cool, bet, I got that. But we're taught words don't hurt. We're taught we don't respond to words, right? And we're taught self-defense. And that's the first law of survival, is self-preservation. And as Jamila, my baby sister, commented, I think Will Smith was triggered, and he did see his father in that. But it's interesting. He's real cool and compassionate with his father for some interviews that I saw. And I don't know. I don't let go of issues as easy as that. But so back to the Chris Rock thing. And I'm concerned about Chris Rock right now because he's a victim of assault and battery, right? How is he, like, he in his comedy thing, he says that he's still processing it. And that's very understandable. Like, man, this shit happened to me in a place where, okay, boo me, okay, heckle me from the audience, right? Even if Will Smith would have stood up and said, you know, all right, last one.
Match energy, right? No, match energy.
That would have been, yeah, he could have been like, all right, you raggedy porcelain mouth ass, you know, whatever, you know, he could have talked about Chris Rock's mouth, you know, maybe if they had something for her hair, like you had something for your messed up grill, you know.
I don't think Will Smith was the one that battled against Chris Rock.
He might not have, but this is what he would have won. This is how he would have won. If he would have walked up to that stage, put his arm around him, and be like, yo, man, 2022, we're going to protect Black women on all forms.
That would have been the
right?
That would have been.
Yeah. And do a little dig. And this is how you save a marriage. Because Chris Rock is divorced, right? This is how you maintain a marriage, right? Or, you know, maybe you'd have had this lesson, Chris, if you'd have kept your wife. There's so much more that could have been done. And Will Smith is not stupid. He might have been drunk that night, but he's not stupid.
My question is, you know, I work with a sister in Cherry Creek by the name of Latoya. She always asks this question: what perspective wasn't in the room that need to be in the room or need to be in this discussion? Don't Will Smith have kids? What message did he send to them? Doesn't Chris Rock have kids?
Right.
What message was sent to see your father assaulted? And I'm going to use Hashim words, assaulted on national television. And even if he's not married, he may be involved with someone that love him just as much. How are all these people feeling? And what impact does it have on their relationships? What impact does it have if I know Chris Rock kids are in school, and I don't know how old they are, so I don't know if they're adults or if they're in school or this, that, and the other. And they go to school and they say, hey, your father got slapped on TV.
Then it's a thing.
Who's watching out for them?
Yeah. And what was it on? Oh gosh, forgive me. World Star.
World Star always gonna have the unedited version of everything.
No, listen, man. Like, so I didn't prep everybody for it. My mom sent this to me, right?
Right.
They drug the entire Pickett Smith family.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Really?
Like, yeah. I mean, there was some transphobia stuff in there. There was some misogyny stuff in there. There was some homophobia stuff in there. Like, they drug the entire family. And I'm like, yikes. Like, that's the type of stuff that Will Smith wasn't thinking about that would happen. And it was like, if you thought...
Wait, this was after the slap or before the slap?
This is after the slap. I'll share it with us. Like, and we'll talk about it later. I'm so sorry I didn't share it ahead of time. But my mom just sent it to me. And it was a thing of where, oh, you mad because he said something about her looking like G.I. Jane. How you feel about this? How you feel about that? For your wife, your weirdo kids. Like, they went in on all this type of stuff. And I'm like, that's the stuff you might cross a line and fight somebody over. But it was a dare, or it was a thing of a dig at Will. Like, you ain't gonna do nothing about this. Like, it's that door that opened up. And as Michael Carter brought into the fact of, what about, I get torn on like Hollywood celebrities being role models, but when you place yourself there, right, and you paint yourself for people to look up to you, for you to be this type of figure, what about those kids? You know, and the Smiths are really particular about their brand, which is really making me like, this? Like, yikes, Will. So it's just, I don't know. And now he's in jeopardy of losing his Oscar.
Stefania, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
And I'm being serious about the question. When that incident took place, and we talk about the protection of Black women, was he protecting? You notice I'm thinking about these words, right? Because
those are the warning. Those are the nonverbals.
I'm really pausing on this question, but do you think, and I'm not asking you to speak for all Black women, but just in general.
Of course I can't. Yeah, go ahead.
Do you think his actions actually protected Black women? Or gave an example of how you protect Black women?
You know, I'd like to see Black women protected more. I think that, you know, our society and definitely white America does not view, they just don't view us as a whole as human, you know what I mean? And they would much rather send money to the SBA and protect dogs and sooner than they would, you know, send it to the NAACP or the United Negro College Fund. Do I think what he did protected women? I think it was, I'm gonna have to be careful with my answer. I think it was, in his mind, he was protecting his wife. Yes, I think. Okay. Do I think it was the right way to do it? No, absolutely not. Do I think that, but here's the other thing. I think that this country we have a long way to go. This country was built on violence. This country bred us in violence, under circumstances that no one would want to see happening today, you know? So we have a long way to go before we can heal from being a violent nation. So when you see a visceral reaction from Will Smith like that, I think, do I think he regrets it today? Absolutely. Do I think he would handle it differently today? Yes, and I don't think it's just because of the black backlash that he's receiving as the reasons he would handle it today. I think that he probably had a rush of emotions that overwhelmed him on top of the nerves that he was feeling on receiving this award. And it came out like that.
Yeah.
I think that, here's the thing. The bottom line is I think Black women deserve to be protected. We can't always only view our other races as being worthy of being protected and leave Black women vulnerable all the time. Like I said, I don't condone his violence, but I see the act and I understand what he was trying to do.
Is it also fair to say we live in a society that don't market, share, or brand when Black men stand up to protect Black women?
Right.
I think we see on TV sometimes what I consider to be the extreme of Black women being assaulted and there's no response. But we have to also remember during the time of Jim Crow, during the time of slavery, people say, well, that has no impact. Well, how many times a Black man had to watch his wife get raped by the slave master and couldn't do nothing about it?
Right.
And in many cases would attack another slave because he knew he couldn't attack the master.
Right.
So my question is, who was Will Smith really attacking?
Well, like I said, this country was bred on violence. We were born in violence. It was amazing.
We still marinating in violence.
We still marinating in violence. I mean, how many times do we have to turn on the news and we see women being strip searched in public, Black women being strip searched in public, nobody protecting them. We see women being assaulted a way that a white woman would not be assaulted by a police officer. And nobody steps in and says, don't do that. I mean, punched in the face by a male officer and nobody says, no, that's a no. And then the officer's not reprimanded. So the vulnerability of Black women has been there for a long time. And like I said, I applaud the thought of him protecting a Black woman and how he went about it was wrong. But like I said, it's something that this country has bred us into.
I agree to a point, Hashim, and I just want to get this out of Michelle.
I don't condone it though.
The only thing I see a little different in this,
okay,
is that I see many instances where Black men. I watch Hashim stand up for his candidate all the time. The protection of a Black woman that probably would get very little Channel 7, Channel 4 airplay. I watch sons protect Black women. I watch the football player out there in Florida, and I forget his name, that buy houses for single mothers. That is the protection of Black women. So when I hear that there's no one out there standing up for Black women, I get concerned that we're playing into a narrative that we're being shown and not really raising the awareness of when Black men stand up and protect Black women.
That could be very well be true because of course they don't want the society to know that.
But
they don't. Go ahead.
Can I do a splinter pushback on this a little bit? Yes, I hear you. And as a Black man, I get bothered by hearing that too. But I look at it as when we talk about white people being racist, and then that fragile ass white person's like, oh, not me, I'm not racist. I kind of look at some of it like that, like, okay, I understand it's not an absolute. And then I'm like, well, maybe the aggregate is what they're talking about. Like, it's maybe the majority of what's happening is what they're talking about: the mistreatment, the misogyny, the abuse that happens from Black men towards Black women, and sometimes the standing by. Maybe, as a whole, that outweighs. Then I'm like, well, maybe it's not. Maybe that's the whole white supremacist narrative that's going on. And I like to always push back on the idea, let's protect Black people, right? Black women need to be protected, yes. Black men need to be protected, yes. And even with common day New Age theory, Black people, right? Non-gender conforming, Black people need to be protected as a whole. And I think about, it makes me think of when they say Black women are the backbone of the Democratic Party. I'll let a black woman say that. It might not correct it, but I don't let non-black people say that. Because the truth is, black people are the backbone of the Democratic Party, led by black women. That's the accurate statement right there. And I think anytime, like, our stuff is so nuanced, our stuff is so complex in this country. Like, it ain't, like, we always talk about we live by two set of rules. We live by two or more. Black people have to recognize patriarchy, misogyny, homophobia, ableism, and all this type of stuff, and then also have to add the layer of black onto it. Right? We have to deal in two different worlds on that. Like, yes, we have all of those isms going on in black community, but then we have that racism as well too. So we're fighting multiple battles all the time. But I think that for us, if we're going to talk about this healing, it's the united front. We protect all black people. Because while black women suffer violence at a higher rate than black men do, our movements, and this is horrible, our movements have been started behind the death of black men.
Yeah.
Makes sense of that for me, right? I mean, patriarchy. But okay, cool. So it's weird. Black men die, black women start the movement. You know, it's just, we just have to protect black people as a whole.
Agree.
Here's the thing that I often like to try and do. All things being equal, if the roles were switched with the races, how would this reaction go down? If it was who's a married couple? If it was Ashton Kutcher jumping up on the stage because somebody said something about Mila Kunis, would our reaction be the same? Because we expect white men to protect a white woman. And what's amazing to me is, even if I talked earlier about black women being strip searched in public, with everybody standing around, them kicking in doors of a black woman who with a no-knock warrant, where she was standing there naked, and they would not turn around, they wouldn't leave the apartment even though they had the wrong apartment. Things like that, all things being equal, even black men come to the aid. If that was a white woman standing there, I'm sure that everyone would have come to her aid. I'm sure that, they would have said, don't do, we're not doing this. I'm sorry. I probably should have muted my phone for this.
People want to talk to you. They want to know, what my sister saying up here on this podcast? That's what they're trying to do.
Goodness, I have never, my phone don't ring all day. And then, I go live and they want to talk. But I just my mind is blown, because I try and figure out, how would this have happened if all things being equal, except for the race of the people that this happened to? What would the response be the same? Would the event still have played out like that? Would there be would it have gone viral like this?
I think that isolation of race is key. At the same time, I just want to put a little pin in something. When we talk about the no-knock warrant and the one that became most famous, we have to remember that brother shot first and was trying to protect the family and the sister.
Yeah,
and the sister.
That's true.
We have to recognize that.
Yeah.
And this is where I have a little trouble, because I think Hashim said it best. How do we look at the protection of black people? And part of that healing process is, while we're looking at reality shows where we're up here at times slapping each other, disrespecting each other, and things of this nature, I want that reality show that show the healing and see that go viral, see the reconciliation, see that go viral, so that we can see what community love look like and not what community hate look like.
I think Ayanla does that, or did it. I know her show is not recording anymore, but
I had some concerns, and I'll leave it there.
Yeah, right. It's reality. It's scripted reality. So, how much can you, how far can you drive that?
So, I don't know. I still would have felt the same way if it had been a white dude slapping a white dude over his white wife. I still would have felt the same way. Like, I think it's tacky. And I operate from a place of, I can use my words, and I understand my words have consequences. I get that. But once you take physical action against my words, all bets are off. And, I don't know if my mom, I do know. She raised me like that because she did not want me fighting all the time. I grew up as an only child. I didn't grow up with my siblings. and she recognized the harm in that. And and because of her green light and saying this is how you express yourself, that's how this smart mouth developed throughout time. So, and that's the message that we try to send people, because it escalates. Like, I mean, it's just, if this had happened on the streets, like, yeah, I can say, yeah, what you say about my girl, blop, slap. Oh, dude, we like that. Pants pull up and they go, right? And go how? I don't know. Shots fired, then retaliation aspect.
You say that, but we expect celebrities to act differently, like they're not human beings.
No.
It wasn't on the street.
I expect
get it.
people to act differently.
Yeah.
Because if we are the most developed creature on this planet, then we have to do something different. And yes, we give a celebrity. I don't give a celebrity nothing off, because it gets so much for free. If you don't want to be a celebrity, stop making damn movies. Stop doing music. Stop being a celebrity. You have a choice. So when you make this choice, with great power comes great responsibility.
But that doesn't mean they don't have feelings.
They got feelings, but they need to do the work to manage their feelings. That therapy is expensive, and they can afford it.
I don't disagree with you, Hashim. I think that, but we have to also, people are human. I mean, when you look at, when you begin to look at Will Smith, and he talks about the challenge of how his masculinity has been, let's say, all over the place, of what his examples of manhood. Am I a gangster, or am I the friendly rapper? I'm intimidated by a gangster rapper that had a thing for my wife, and how do I deal with that? I just think there's a regardless of how old you are, racism has impacted us all to the point where Dr. Naeem Akbar said there's no, I can't believe that black folk haven't just went totally crazy. And the fact that we've held it together the way we've held it together is a miracle. Yeah. Fast forward, Chris Rock in his show, almost like he acted the same way he did in the sitcom Everybody Hates Chris, because he always tried to rationalize even stuff as a kid. Why is this taking place before I take action?
Yeah.
And so I don't agree with any of his jokes. I mean, I ain't gonna say any of it. Some of his stuff I like, some of his stuff I don't like. I don't think the joke about Jada Pinkett was fair. I thought it was out of line, this, that, and the other. But I also like how he gave an example of how you recover and not attack another black person back and say, we're going to handle this a different way. And we're going to be, I'm hoping this is what he's thinking. And we can give a positive example on how a tragedy can end and be a lesson for our community.
Let me ask you this. How do you think, oh, I'm sorry, Hashim, what are you going to say?
No, I was just saying, Eddie didn't even drag him in his show. You know what I'm saying? Like, when he still did not, he still didn't do the whole shame thing in the show.
I mean, I think that they were friends. And so I think it's amazing. I think that, you men talk to each other differently than women. Like y'all say things that women would be like, we are never friends again. The way y'all talk to each other. If women talk to each other like that, we would not be friends. So perhaps Chris Rock and Will Smith are still friends, and he realizes that that's his, his dude. How do you think other comedians are going to take this? My perspective is, first of all, I get it. They reach into the audience from time to time and they talk about people, and it's funny. But I also think that they're human. They recognize when they see somebody who's suffering from a disability, that they can, like you said, Hashim, read the room. However, it's going to be pretty triggering when they're on that stage. I imagine that they'll be thinking twice about what they're going to say. But if your comedy show is filled with nothing about dragging the people in the audience, you don't have a comedy show. You're just a bully on stage with talking about people. So, and there's a lot of people who don't do that. They do actually tell jokes. I appreciate D.L. Hughley. He can be pretty raw when it comes to talking about people on stage. Ricky Smiley can get down on people while he's on stage. They're quite a few, but they that's not their whole comedy routine.
Right. Well,
anybody remember the Nutty Professor?
Yeah, right.
Are you saying that because Will Smith wouldn't have slapped Dave Chappelle?
I think you know.
In the movie, they matched energy.
Yeah.
In the movie, he didn't go up there and he didn't slap Dave Chappelle. Eddie Murphy went up there and
he clowned him.
He matched energy.
Well, he did slam his head in the piano.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah,
come on, y'all.
But that was toxic masculinity, right? Because the hormones were making him be more aggressive like that.
So is that going to be Will Smith defense?
I mean, it's toxic masculinity. That is, Will Smith was the epitome of toxic masculinity, though. Like, whatever you want to describe it. I mean, if he's human, he got to take all of that type of stuff. But again, I'm annoyed. I don't give these rich celebrities that pass off. Yeah, you're human. You're human. You've been in this situation. You've also told a bald-headed joke. Like, you understand how this stuff goes, dude. If you, like, yikes. And we're forgetting the structure of the Oscars, right? Like, it is set up for these type of moments. So is it a buyer beware?
Oh no, I see my.
But then there was the tears, and I was like,
about that.
This mofo just got the award for best male actor. Ain't buying it.
Well, you know the sad thing is like everyone else has said, this has overshadowed the entire show. The entire show that was produced by a Black man. It was first time being produced by a Black man. We also had several other Black celebrities receive awards. We even had the first Hispanic celebrity receive an Academy on this show, and will not know. No, most of us won't even talk about that.
Yeah. Or we won't talk about the Williams family. That story of him portraying a father who took his kids from Compton to become, and once again, Compton is a beautiful city. So people out here dissing Compton. My family from Compton still live in Compton.
Yeah, y'all better watch it. Don't get slapped.
Hey, I love my city. But either way, but very quickly, that story got lost. Who he portrayed and the great work that he done and the misunderstanding that people have of their father. All that is lost. Yep. And the question is, when they think about the father, are they going to think about the slap? Or are they going to think about the greatness he did with his daughter?
I like to think that we are evolved human beings. We can separate. You
see my eyes get big?
We shouldn't get so caught up in trying to equate Will Smith with the actual human being. But we have 2 minutes left, y'all. Are we going to end there? Do we have dope Black thoughts based off of?
I do. I have one.
Discussion.
Right.
Okay.
So Black people need protection. And if we are going with the theme of protect Black women, no matter where you are watching this right now, I am sure there's a Black woman who is close by you that needs your protection, whether it is one that you know intimately from a family setting, from a friendship setting, or even from a political setting. And we didn't get a chance to talk about it today, but Wanda James is under attack. Right, Wanda James, anytime a Black woman is in politics, this stuff becomes heightened. But who she is, she's under attack by a PAC, a political PAC group. She's under attack by the current president of the state region of the NAACP of the Colorado, Wyoming, Montana area.
A Black woman?
By another Black woman who's being used as a tool by Blue Rising.
Black women
and she's under attack by a candidate in the race, right? It's just, and it's complex, and I'm running out of time. We out of time.
That's okay.
But, man, you took up the whole thought.
All I'm gonna say is there is a Black woman with intangible distance that needs your support. Wherever you are, that's the truth. My dope Black thought.
Okay, don't cut us off, Marcus. Go ahead, Omar.
No, you go ahead. Stefania, you deserve the last word.
Okay, well then go.
Okay, then. I'm just gonna say I got a lot of friends in that race, and I'm just gonna keep it there. I have a lot of friends. I worked with them. Wanda is an amazing woman, and I love Portia. I love the other people involved in the race, and would love to talk to you offline about that. But I will say Wanda is a great sister, and there's another sister, Regina Edmondson, who's running for county commissioner.
Boy, you better.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
We're gonna put it out there. When we talk about protection of Black women, there was some things said about her in her campaign that we had to address. So when we begin to talk about protecting Black people, that's our children, our grandparents, that's our unhoused, those that are addicted, those who are transgender. We have to protect the whole community and not just a selected few. So with that stated, let's give a community love hug after this.
I tell you what, here's the amazing thing is this is the platform for Regina and all the other candidates to come on and share their experience and get their campaigns some notoriety. So please, Regina,
let's do it.
I mean, this is where you go. My dope Black thought is a quote from Bernice King, and it was about this issue with the slap, especially when we have a lot of people out there saying this is Black on Black crime, which I took exception to because, my Lord, this is, I mean, one Black man slapping another Black man has nothing to do with the entire nation. So anybody who thinks Black people look bad after the Oscars already thought Black people look bad.
Well,
respectability doesn't cure racism. Be loved, but please don't think that a person who uses one moment to malign a whole group of people did not do so before that moment. If anybody out there thought that this made the whole Black community look bad, you thought that before.
Yep.
And it goes back to that age-old statement of you're such a credit to your race. No, this has nothing to do with the entire race. This has something to do with two men on a stage in one night. Does not have to do with the entire community. Dope Black Thoughts out.
A-D-D-I-C-T-E-D. What is love? It's a drug. Let it rotate, just to hit back in it. Calling me an Uber just to hit back in it. Use the cash out like pay, I send it. Is it really worth the wait? I don't get it. Dividing gravitate. Taste that wet emoji got me higher out of space.